Time to check out our Mercury Move of the tournament. The tournament, of course, next to last tournament of the year for the Bassmaster Elite Series 2022 in South Dakota, Lake Oahe. And Ronnie Moore, we're going to talk about our 6th place finisher. That's going to be, of course, Patrick Walters from South Carolina. We'll talk about the move in terms of distance and also the move of his career towards being a better northern smallmouth angler.
That's the one thing we saw with Patrick Walters throughout early stages of his career, that he would be in the Angler of the Year race. Top 5, top 6, have a shot to win Angler of the Year going into the back third of our season. Most of the time, the end of our seasons are always smallmouth venues, and we saw the first few years of his Elite Series career, he would have a great day and have a really terrible day, and he was not able to get the consistency that you need. Smallmouth was definitely kind of the chink in his armor. It was the weakness in his game. But boy, Tommy, he spent a lot of time fine-tuning that, doing it his way. I talked to him on the phone about this, and I said, what's the deal with this year and how you figured out smallmouth compared to years prior? Is it just time on the water? What is it? And he said, man, I used to listen to everyone and they'd say, you better go drift, you better go use this, you better go use that. And I kind of got locked into what everyone else liked to do for smallmouth. I needed to figure out how to catch smallmouth in my area, doing what I want to do. And he's figured out how to do that not only with forward-facing sonar, but the standard traditional techniques and ways of going about smallmouth. And boy, do we see it paid off this week.
Absolutely. And just to underscore what you were talking about there, his very first year, he was 57th at the St. Lawrence, started with a top 4 to start his season. The next year, 47th at St. Lawrence, so a little bit of improvement there. 44th at St. Clair, 7th place at Lake Champlain, and 11th at St. Lawrence last year in 2021. I guess that's where he started to turn the tide.
Yeah, and we really saw in 2021, he was going into that final event with a long shot, but a shot at Angler of the Year behind Seth Fighter. Had an abysmal day 1. Then he went out and caught one of the biggest bags of the tournament on day 2, and then he went out and caught one of the biggest bags of the tournament on day 3 to move back up and just missed the cut. So for Pat, and he said going in the fall, September at the St. Lawrence for the Open, that was super key for him being able to learn a little bit more, a different time of the year, where they're going to set up, kind of do his thing, and fish a lot less stressed with an Open compared to an Elite Series event. But back to Lake Oahe, we knew he was going to be in it to win it because he said, hey, I'm going to go a long ways. I'm going to outpace everyone. I'm not going to fish around people, so whatever fish I find, I'm going to be able to maximize them to their full potential. And he did that, running 60, 70, maybe even 80 miles at times to the south end of the lake. We saw some other anglers make it that far, go towards the dam at Lake Oahe, but it was kind of out of a desperation Hail Mary. They were hoping something would happen. For Walters, it was tactical, and he knew what he was getting into.
Well, you're going to take a lot of your fishing time away when you do something like that, and that sort of reflects the new confidence he has with his smallmouth fishing action, and it sort of paid off on day number 1, 20 pounds plus.
Yeah, and when he thinks about it, you want to be consistent, and really there wasn't a bunch of consistency to be had this week at Lake Oahe. So for Walters, getting away from people, doing that strategy was key. But he said, Tommy, in the middle of his days, he would always start strong and catch a couple fish real quick. We saw a few of those on Bass Live before he disappeared out of coverage. But in the middle of the day, he said there was a shallow bite. We heard some anglers talking about topwater and some swim baits and some other things. He was utilizing that, so he not only had a deep approach, but also a shallow approach, and he had a lot of that area to himself because he did go so far. He had to endure some heavy waves, some big-time wind and waves on his way down there, but he said, hey, it's nothing we haven't seen before. I made it down there safe and sound, got to work, and yes, we had to lose a little bit more time coming back, but I knew the area I had and the potential I had for it. It obviously led to a top 10 finish.
Well, in his bio, he says, I'm really starting to love northern smallmouth fishing, and I think it's sort of marked. When you take the most challenging smallmouth tournament we've had in a long, long time, he notches that 6th place finish. I think he's come full circle. Patrick Walters is on top of the world.
And going into the final event at the Mississippi River out of La Crosse, Wisconsin, Patrick Walters, with this effort at Lake Oahe, moved himself into the top 10 in Angler of the Year. And boy, is it a close race between some of these guys from 5th to 10th. It's just a handful of points, a lot of money Walters could have just earned by a great finish at Oahe, because he's not only going to earn that, but Progressive Angler of the Year payout this year is something to watch as well, as those guys kind of shift and adjust the top 10's positions.
We'll have our eyes on him and all the rest of our anglers as we wrap up our season, but that is your Mercury Move of the tournament, Patrick Walters.